I want to start this presentation out with a trigger warning. I'm going to be talking about sexual violence, and I understand, if you would like to go to the restroom or something. Okay, so my presentation is, you read about the rape, why analyzing the significance of violence and why it is so prevalent in literature. So sexual violence is forcible sexual contact, coercion that leads to sex or sexual contact, any type of sexual harassment, sexual advances that are unwanted, or whenever someone says no and the other person does not listen to them. Can you go to the first slide, please? So in the House of the Spirit, we saw this many times with Esteban Trubio raping girls, as well as Esteban Garcia molesting Alba, and I have a clip. He wanted to pull off all her clothes. He was violently aroused. With his other hand, he ventured beneath her well-starched dress, running his fingers up the child's legs until he found the lace of her batiste petticoats in her woolen drawers with their elastic bands. He was panting. Esteban Garcia took her hand and placed it on his stiffened sex. That is a classic example of child abuse, which is something that is classically done for a need of power and for someone who feels the need to assert control over someone, typically a younger person. This is because if you look at the patriarchal society we live in, women have always been viewed as objects. So men have been able to, over time, assert control over women through sexual acts, and they've never been told no, as you see in slavery. Most slave women were sexually assaulted by their slave masters, and the slave master was the person responsible for punishing the sexual act. But since he was the one who committed it, he's not going to punish himself. So it gave the message to other men that sexual violence was okay, and it gave the message to women that when they're attacked, nothing's going to happen to them. So my next quote is from the Kite Runner. "All I want you weaklings to do is hold him down. Can you manage that?" Wally and Kamal nodded. They looked relieved. Asif knelt behind Hassan, put his hands on Hassan's back, and undid his own belt buckle. With his free hand, he unzipped his jeans. That is a child-on-child rape, which is not very common. However, it does happen, and any type of rape is about oppression. Rape is an act of asserting control. Sexual violence is an act of asserting control, which is the fact that you are oppressing another human being into doing something that they have said no to, something they have not consented to. That's oppression, and that you see over all of recorded history. You saw it with the Mongols, you saw it with the Crusades, you saw it in raping and pillaging of villages. You saw it everywhere. If you look at the government is patriarchal. Women, for centuries, were not allowed in the government. If you look at ancient Rome, women had no control. Women had no say in the government. So why would they make a law that says, I can't have sex with her if she says no? Because that's what they wanted to do. So why would they say, I can't do that because she didn't like it? No one cared. If you look at Sharia law, women's sexuality is criminalized. Women who have extramarital sex get much harsher punishments than men do. We saw in Kite Runner, a woman was stoned for having an affair. You never found out what happened to the man she was having the affair with. Chances were they were like, hey, don't do it again. And he got off. She was killed. So if you look at that, you see patriarchal oppression on women. Okay, can you go to the first one? Here you see the age distribution of rape victims. 32% of rape victims are between the ages of 11 and 17. 30% are under the age of 11. That is 62% of rape victims that are minors. That is because when people are coming into their sexuality, people want to oppress them. The majority of rape victims are women. Many molestation victims are male. But the majority of violent rape crimes are women because of that need for patriarchal oppression. Can you go to the next slide, please? If you look at the sexual assaults reported to law enforcement, only 35% of all sexual violence is ever reported. That's because due to the years and centuries of this stigma that women are less than men, women are owned by men, women feel that they cannot say, he harmed me, he did something to me, He hurt me, I said no, he didn't care. And if you look, the majority of rapists convicted is 3%. 3 rapists out of every 100 are convicted. And 1 out of those 3 will spend a day in prison. Can you go to the next slide, please? If you look at where sexual assaults occur, they occur most at work and at home. Those are 2 classically patriarchal places. You look at the cult of domesticity, that is at home. Women were not allowed to work outside of the home until about 200 years ago. So, and you can see it in their pay. Women are paid less. That's another form of oppression. Most sexual violence is committed by someone a woman knows because it's his way of oppressing